You're doing it wrong. You've been doing it wrong this whole time. Today we're talking about support and resistance and how I've been doing it wrong for quite some time, and I feel like a lot of you guys are doing it wrong as well. I just want to talk about this simple idea here behind support and resistance when you're buying, when you're selling, what to be looking for, and the overall idea of support and resistance, but not looking at it just as a line across the chart, but an overall idea of which way strength is forming for this stock and the overall trend. Talking about it right here in this video, so make sure you guys stay tuned. All right, so like I said, this is something that I've been doing wrong or something that I've been confused about for quite some time. Now, with support and resistance, it's so easy and simple to sometimes just put a line across the chart and say, okay, that's my support or that's my resistance. Now I need to make my trade plan off of that. But what I've been doing wrong for quite some time is I thought that the stock is pushing up to resistance. And what I was doing for so long is I would short into that resistance, thinking, okay, this is my area. I'm going to short up to that resistance level. And then it ends up just breaking right through that resistance and going higher. And this is something that I noticed repeated over and over, that I was too quick to just be like, okay, this stock is at a resistance or this stock is at a support. But I'm not looking at the overall bigger picture. This is where trend comes into play. This is where the overall momentum comes into play, or just what really is going on with that stock at the time. One of the things, like I said, I would do no matter what is this, okay, it's going to a resistance, I'm going to get short. And then I end up getting squeezed out and end up getting out for a pretty big loss. So that's something that I would do constantly, thinking that, okay, I've identified resistance, so I'm going to get short there. This also goes with buying the dip off a support bounce, where I would end up getting long at a support area, thinking, okay, this stock has touched the support area multiple times. It's looking like it wants to hold, and I would get in long there, and guess what would happen? We'd get a stop loss run, the stock would drop, the stock would end up dropping a lot more than I was planning on it dropping, because that support area is so key. If that support area can't hold, it's going to end up running through stops, going to end up pulling back, end up getting you out for a large loss. So what I was doing is I was playing this both ways. I was going long on my support bounces for a long opportunity, and then I end up getting stopped out when those stop losses would get ran. Remember, as soon as that stop is lost, everybody else is looking at it like, okay, that area is now no longer support, so they're getting out for a loss. It's adding on to the buyers, it's adding on to the selling pressure, and it's making a larger move back down. What we see a lot of times happen is we get that break through the support, we get a lot of selling, and then we find a little bit of support, we kind of bounce back, and we push up to that previous support area, and then it turns into resistance. So what I'm now focused on, what I've changed with my overall style and my overall plan is I'm no longer trying to guess and trying to predict which way a stock is going to go once it breaks the resistance or it breaks the support. So by me shorting too early before resistance, I end up guessing that I think a stock is going to stop at that resistance level, and I end up getting out for a loss because it breaks through. So I'm trying to predict the future here, and I'm trying to say, okay, this stock, it's at resistance. It looks like it wants to hold there, and I end up getting short and end up getting stopped out. So again, what do we got? We got stop losses being ran on the upside of that breakout. We got the stops that are getting ran because people thought that this was resistance. They're short. It pushes through. They end up getting out for a loss. And what happens to me? I end up getting out for a loss as well. So I'm getting stopped out at that kind of high for the breakout, and I'm getting stopped out at the bottom for the breakdown. So I'm getting stopped out both ways. I'm looking at my trades. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong here. This is definitely something wrong. I'm not doing it right. There's no way this is going to, be profitable long run. All right, so this morning on Tesla, we see that they have a support area there, 695 pre-market, bouncing multiple times. So if I'm looking to play Tesla, and we'll just imagine that all these lines aren't here. So I can clearly see, okay, we've got some support there, 695 area. Guess what happens at open? We end up breaking through that support multiple times here, 692, 690s, 691. And what is that telling me? If I just look at this picture really quickly, if I don't think about this any other way, I'm just looking at it really quickly. I just look right at it. I close my eyes and I look at it. And I'm seeing that it's breaking below that support multiple times. I'm thinking maybe there's a short opportunity here, right? If I'm not looking at the bigger picture.
But if I look at the bigger picture, I can see that this stock is kind of bouncing around there. We got tails, we got candles, we got the candles below the support there, but we're pushing right back up. We got the EMAs, we got everything kind of lining up there. So I can tell myself, well, I'm going to wait to have a candle close below that support. I want to see a big sell-off candle close below that support area, being 695 there. I want to see that close before getting short. But guess what? We push back above that support area, back above the EMAs. We show strength there. We pull back, and then we turn that 695 area, that support area, back into support, baby. And guess what? We rallied. We rallied beautifully. And again, this is going back to that idea of nothing being cut and dry in the market. Just because the indicator tells you, hey, it's time to sell or it's time to buy, doesn't always mean it's like the perfect time. So clearly, we can see that that 695 area is turning into support. And guess what? We know that that pre-market high 730 area is resistance. So if I'm a bear and I'm thinking, hey, this is time to get short, do I want to just get short on the first candle that pushes up there to the 730 area? Do I want to be that guy? No. Maybe back in the day, I would have shorted here at 730 thinking this is going to roll off because it's got resistance there. I'll admit to that. I will definitely admit that back in the day, there's a good chance that I would have done something like that, something similar, where I would have shorted that resistance area, seeing that 730 area was resistance. I'm going to short there. Well, guess what? It goes from 730 all of a sudden up there to 747, and I just got hit. I got hit hard, and well, it's still going higher. It's still squeezing. So again, I'm out for a big loss. I shorted here. I thought that was going to be my, big turn off there. We did not get the turn off, but okay, I go ahead and cover, and I can see now that this 760, 770 area is resistance. So I'm thinking, same idea, right? Same idea. Look at this. These two candles, push up, push up. We have this we have the tops of these candles looking like they're, getting sold. They're getting selling pressure there. 765 there, looking like it wants to roll off. But guess what? It pushes up there to the resistance and again squeezes. So those are two trades where I would have shorted into that resistance, thinking that we could have rolled off. Two trades right there where I could have shorted those areas and I could have gotten out for a big loss. Where with my theory here of waiting for the support or the resistance area to kind of give me that, final answer, like, hey, is this a short, is this a long? Giving me that answer, maybe I'm not the first one to the short. Maybe I'm not the first one to short this on this move, but at least I'm identifying these opportunities and then letting these opportunities kind of play out and do what they're going to do, and then I'm taking a plan after that. So like here, I can clearly see that this got stopped there multiple times. So I can get short, in this area. I can get short there because we're getting stuck on top of these candles. I probably wouldn't have gotten stopped because it just wasn't a clear area there at the time. But in general, you can see what I'm saying here. I can be late to the party. I don't need to be the first short. That's a good way to look at it. I don't need to be the first person to short this. Now, again, we push up here. We have resistance. Obviously, it didn't push again. So I can tell myself, okay, bam, bam, bam. We are at that resistance area, 796 resistance. We're getting stuck there. Guess what? We got a nice pullback. We push up, but we got a very, we'll say a lower high there. It wasn't anywhere near the previous high. So we can say, hey, that momentum is probably looking dead at that point. So those are things I'm looking for. I'm not just looking at cut and dry resistance and support. It's not cut and dry by any means. I'm looking to identify what's going on, seeing where that resistance, where that support area is, and then I'm looking to take a trade after that. Once I see what happens with that support and resistance. In the past, like I said, I wanted to be the first one. I wanted to be the guy who got short first, or I wanted to be the guy who got long first, and vice versa. I wanted to buy the dip, right? I wanted to buy the best possible dip there was. But instead, I end up getting out because I'm too early to the trades, too early multiple times. And that's always happening to me, where I'm always too early to the trade. So all I had to do was just sit back and like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I'm trying to predict which way the stock's going to go. I'm not waiting for that stock to give me the right setup, and I'm not waiting for that opportunity to show itself, where I'm just the first person to try to get short and I get squeezed out, or I'm the first person to try to get long and I get dumped on. So either way, I'm getting dumped on top and bottom. So now I'm using support and resistance really as a focus to see which way the stock is heading. Obviously, I can see this is trending lower. Off of that resistance area, I can clearly see the trends going lower. So I can basically just draw a line there. You guys know how this works. But in general, using those support and those resistance areas as a map, using them as a map. That's how I want to say it. The best way to do it is using support and resistance areas as a map to follow. Not so much, hey, this is exactly which way the stock's going to go, but it's giving me an idea like what I need to be paying attention to at those areas. Okay, we're pushing through resistance. Are we showing strength? Is the volume increasing? Are all those things lining up there to give me a good breakthrough resistance? Or are we getting stuck at resistance? Volume is selling. We're not getting a big spike in volume. The volume's not increasing. We're not pushing through that resistance area. Those are things to keep an eye on. Those are very important things to keep an eye on. We're asking ourselves questions. We're not just taking a trade because we're at a support or we're at a resistance area.
So now what I'm focused on here is, instead of trying to predict the future, I'm waiting for that support area or that resistance area to tell me what is going to happen. Okay, the stock is now above resistance. It's pushing higher. It pulls back. It finds support at that previous resistance. Then guess what? I know, well, okay, this is a good time to me buy. I want to buy at that previous resistance turning into support, because I already got confirmation that this trend, the stock's trending higher. It's pushing through resistance. It's showing strength. It continues to make higher lows as we continue to trend higher. It's pushing through that resistance. I'm looking at everything. Big picture here, guys. Big picture. I'm not just looking at the fact that there's a resistance at that area. I'm not just looking like, hey, I want to get short because this stock is pushing to resistance. That is not how you should be trading. You're not just pushing buttons with the hope of that you're going to predict which way the stock is going to move. I'm not just shorting at resistance with the theory that this stock is going to pull back from that resistance area. I'm looking for opportunities around the support and resistance levels for a couple different things. If we get a breakdown below support, we get a breakdown to the downside, and all of a sudden the stock breaks down, but then pushes right back up there above that support and then starts to trend above that support and push higher, that is telling me, hey, that support area is real, right? We got a breakdown. We broke down below there, but we pushed right back up to that support area. Overall, the trend is still intact. The overall trend is still showing me the stock wants to push higher, and we're pushing back above that previous support. That's telling me, hey, it's time to rock and roll, baby. Time to jump in here along, because clearly this thing's trending, it's trending, it's showing me opportunities. So I want to jump in there now that I see that that support was kind of broken for a second, but then it pushed right back. So that support area is being maintained. How many times has this happened to you where you've gotten stopped out of a trade? You've gotten out of a trade because you thought the stock was going to go lower or higher based on a support or resistance area breaking, and you end up getting out for a loss, and then all of a sudden the stock goes back to exactly where you had entered at, and then it ends up trending exactly how you thought it would. This happens all the time to me, and I'm sure it happens to you a lot as well. So going back, very simple. We're not trying to predict the outcome. We're trying to trade what is on the chart. What is this stock telling me? It's telling me that it's trending higher, pushing through resistance. Same thing goes for taking profit as well, my friends. Let's say you're short and the stock's heading lower. It's at a support area. It's bouncing off support, but it's looking weak. It breaks through that support area, and then I'm telling myself, okay, now I can look to take profit as we're breaking through that support area, as we're heading lower. Same thing goes with resistance breaks. Obviously, I'm taking a little bit of profit as we push up into that resistance. I'm taking a little bit off the table, taking a little bit of profit there, but I'm looking for that continuation of that move, that overall trend. Can we continue to push and push through that resistance? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that push through, and then I'm looking to take profit as we trend higher and overall look for that trend to continue in that form. So looking for bigger picture plays, we're looking at the support resistance, we're looking at the trend, we're looking at the overall trend. What is this stock doing? Is it trending higher? Just because a stock is at resistance level does not mean I should be short, and just because a stock is at support area does not mean I should be long. So stop thinking so cut and dry. There is no cut and dry when it comes to indicators. In general, we're looking for opportunities, and we're looking to address those opportunities when they present themselves by placing an educated, proper trade, by having a stop loss, by having an overall target and an overall trade plan with every single trade. Hey, if you're still watching, don't be afraid to check out more videos after this video ends. There's over 1,000 videos on this channel talking about day trading.